Hi, and welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I'm your host, Michelle Albers, and today I have Kelly Montgomery of Peace Pad Wellness with me. Kelly, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's so good to see your face and be live together on Zoom. We've had all these interactions and engagements, but it's been like voice recordings back and forth or texting
Right.
and typing back and forth, but never a face to face. So, welcome to the podcast. I can't wait to see where we go. And I know you and I are soul sisters on some level in all the different ways that we show up in the world and the things we do. And so, I already asked you if you'd be willing to set an intention, and you said yes. So, are you ready to take that away?
Absolutely. Again, thank you for having me. And I am super elated to be here and definitely agree with you on the soul sister thing. I've always wanted to like meet you face to face, but I guess this works for now.
Yeah.
Um, so my intention that I'm going to be setting today is that whoever needs to hear what we have to say today, whatever we throw out into the universe, that they find it as promptly as needed for whatever is happening in their life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Ah, so beautiful. So I think I want to go in a million different directions with you today. So it probably makes the most sense for us to just to drop in and start talking. And
Yes.
I'm wondering if we can just start with you telling us a little bit about like what you do today. And then maybe we can go backwards to how have you helped yourself get to where you are today?
Absolutely, I would love that. Um, like you said, my name's Kelly Montgomery, and I own and operate Peace Pad Wellness. I have been a massage therapist for almost 9 years now. I am also an author and a public speaker. Some of my favorite things to do. I also practice and dip into energy work whenever I am doing massage. I kind of incorporate the two, and spirit leads me, for some people that might not even know that they need it, they come in to get a massage and then they leave feeling recharged and refreshed on every level, including spirit. Um, yeah, I've been doing that for 9 years now. It's
That's
been fun.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. I know that when we talk, I have that same experience, but I think part of that is just like we know energetically, like we both work with energy. And so then when we have conversations, inevitably we lead ourselves to our own clearing and healing in the conversation, which
Yes.
I find beautiful. When did you first get interested in massage and energy work? Because if you've been doing it for 9 years,
So it's kind of funny because it picked me.
of
And
course.
my friend, one of my best friends, Sora, and I were just talking about this today, actually, about how a lot of massage therapists, like, they're not intentional. Like, they're fluid with their motions and they do what they have to do, but it's not at a depth that people really truly need. Like, to me, a massage is more than just touch, it's your energy transference, but like I said, it picked me. And it was actually, I was a new mom. I had just had my son Grayson, and I stumbled across this post on a local group of ours called Chinookville. This gal, Charlotte, had posted something about a massage internship, which I was very heavily gravitated to, which is funny considering the fact that I hated being touched.
Hmm.
So it was kind of like I said, it was definitely a draw in. Like, my spirit already knew where I needed to go. And so I didn't hesitate. I messaged her and I was like, you know what, I'm interested. How do I start? And she's like, well, let's have a meeting. And then we had a meeting and it all went from there. I went to a workshop and we had this instructor place their hands on us. And as soon as he touched me, I kid you not, my entire life changed. I was like, oh, I was in the wrong part of caretaking industry, because when I was 18, I was a caregiver. I was a CNA, and I watched this gal die. And I was like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, my spirit needs to heal people, not watch them pass. That's not my gift. So I gravitated towards that massage industry. And ever since I started, it's just progressed so quickly, so rapidly. And I just keep finding these new avenues and new ways to help people balance their life through the art of healing touch.
Mm.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And the fact that it chose me and that my spirit already knew that that's what I'm here to do before I even did was it's uncanny, but it's also like, oh wow, okay. I have a pretty cool purpose. So
Yeah, that's really cool.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and fascinating that you didn't, or maybe still don't, enjoy being touched, that that's a thing for you. And then I find we're drawn sometimes to the things that, like, where our healing is, like, where we need to focus, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm. Yeah, that's actually something that I was journaling about the other day. I was like, I actually healed the part of me that didn't like to be touched, which has allowed me so many new avenues in my profession because I'm like, okay, so now I can tolerate this and this and this. How can I move forward? Which is such a breath of fresh air. Um, yeah, I don't know. I freaking love what I do. I can't say that enough.
That's amazing. I feel like we're in the place where we can talk about how you serve others through what you do
Yes.
and focus on that. Like, because I mean, same, right? Different version of the same story in that I didn't know I was going to land where I am today when I started this journey. And this journey for me started with Thai massage, which led to other things like Reiki and yoga and, all these other things, Zentangle, and just like ways to heal and look within and find yourself.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
I didn't know that then. And I think when I reflect back to like that journey, everything that I've chosen or not I've chosen has chosen me, has been put in front of me in a divine way that's been excruciating and beautiful all at the same time. I'm going to say it that way. Led to my healing. It led to exactly what I needed to receive for myself and learn how to receive for myself so that I could then give to others from a place that was actually authentic and real versus as a way to avoid myself. So
Right.
I'm curious about how that journey has worked for you. Like how do you serve others? I mean, obviously through massage and Reiki, you talked about those things, but like what does that look and feel like for you with regard to because you spoke of your purpose.
Yeah. So first of all, yes, like this line of work is such a doorway. Like you said, you started with the Thai massage and then everything just kind of started to unravel and open up for you. And that's what I mean. Like this is a doorway of true wellness, like to the core.
Mm.
And the fact that you and I are serving others in such a profound way, such a spiritual, deep healing way is so honorable in my opinion. And so I serve people similar in a similar way that you do. Um, but I mean, massage first and foremost. People come to me like with hip replacements or spinal surgeries or foot surgeries or all of these therapeutic. But then I also have people who come to me for sports massage because they're runners and they're lifters and they're sportsmen. And then I have the other hand of the moms, who need more deep emotional support. And you just have this variety of clientele that you get to see from all walks of life, right? And you get to serve them individually in the way that they need most in that moment. And I just feel like a real life superhero when I get to do that for these people because life can be daunting sometimes. Like it feels cyclical in a way. It like a merry-go-round, especially for like the moms that come in and they're like, I just wake up and I do this and I serve everybody and then I'm just drained and I don't know what to do and I'm so emotional. Well, honey, your chakras are blocked. Like you're not serving yourself. You're giving more than you're receiving. And so thank you for coming to see me and honoring yourself in this way. You know,
Yeah.
it's an honor to help others honor themselves. Like it's such a beautiful, like it makes me want to cry, but it's such a beautiful industry. And to me, touch is art. Like Reiki is art. Massage, my hands are like literally a paintbrush, right? And I'm just like, or like, honestly, okay, how do I explain this? Not even a paintbrush. My hands are the sculptor, and these muscles that people put on my table per se, right? Like the meat suits that
Yeah.
lay on my
Yeah,
table.
yeah.
My hands are the sculptors, the muscles are the clay. My hands are the shifters. Their energy is, you know, the toy of an essence. The words aren't coming out right, but it's clay. It's
No.
all clay.
I I love the way you're saying it. I'm like seeing it in my third eye. Like I'm seeing it in my mind's eye and I'm seeing like the hands and the clay and then in between the two because I think this is mind body spirit like how it comes in.
Mhm.
Between your hands and the clay is light. And that light is like the thing that sort of connects everything together and is guiding it all.
Yeah.
And that's just such a beautiful, I love the way you talk about it because it's like I also don't take what I do lightly. And it's clear that you don't take what you do lightly. Like it's truly an honor to have someone allow themselves to receive and to be in that place of trust. And I think part of the reason I don't take it lightly is because I didn't used to be able to do it. I couldn't receive for myself. I didn't have trust. I was
Absolutely.
afraid to trust. I didn't have a safe space within that made me feel like, okay, I trust myself to set boundaries or do whatever I need to do. And so I love the way you talk about it. And I think, maybe some people listening, because I used to be this way, it was hard for me to say those words. It's like, wow, those are really big words. I wish I could be that way. I wish I could feel that way. Or maybe some people go to the ego place and think, oh, that sounds so ego. But it's like, I think when you really drop in and see, feel, know what was really happening, it is beyond us. It's outside of us. It's not about us. It's about what the client is open to and is needing and is like asking for on
Absolutely.
whether it's on the table or whether it's sitting and having a chat, a coaching session for or whatever it is we're doing. I just think there's a divine intention that resides. And sometimes our clients don't even realize they come in energetically asking for those things. And we don't even necessarily know why our hands are moving with the clay in a certain way. But we just trust that, like, we might not know in our minds, but we know in our hearts and souls. And that's just a very different way. So when you describe that, that's what I see and feel. And it is a next level or a deeper level, or I don't know. I don't like to make it like sound layered in a better
Mhm.
than or worse than kind of way. It's just in a different kind of way.
It
And
really
I think
is. And I'm so
some
happy
people
you
love
said
that
that.
and some don't.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I'm so happy you said that because honestly, like it's like a dance, right? But sometimes in the dance you don't know the next step.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I kind of think of it like that. Like they come in, they don't know what they need. They trust us. And of course, like you said, we have to trust ourselves before we can actually do that work because it is so in depth. And
Hmm.
like people are coming to us so vulnerable. And once they get on your table or once they're sitting in front of you, pouring their heart out, like that is a very vulnerable place to be. And again, like you said, for them to trust us is such such an honor, and to be able to actually hear them and to help them and to guide them to this newfound sense of balance, this balance in trinity, like body, mind, and spirit, is not only healing to them, but also like as a healer, it's healing for me, which
Hmm.
I'm sure you understand too. You're like, wow, okay, I just helped this person so much. And that, like, I feel so amazed at what spirit has led me to do here today. Like, this, it's a dance. Because sometimes I don't know about you, but I'll be in a session and I'll be good, and then spirit's just like I just start swaying, right? And I just let myself be led to do what I need to do in that moment for that individual. And it's a really beautiful feeling.
That's so beautiful. Do you find mm, do you find some clients ask for what they need, or do you find often they just kind of come in and trust the process?
So now that I have a more established business in the area, I do find more and more people coming in for that specific line of work. Um, whether they're coming in for just massage or just energy work or both, a combo. Um, I have a lot more people coming forward and saying, "Hey, can I get this?" Which again feels really good because it's something that I'm known for now. So,
Yeah. To
mhm.
braid the physical muscle part with the energetic healing part. Well, they're both healing. I'm not implying that physical muscle part isn't healing because it 100% is. And
Yeah.
when you add the layer of energy and energy clearing or energy healing or energy, whatever that might look like, that it changes the session. Um, I find sometimes when people come in, well, a couple things, and we're kind of shifting into like a being a massage therapist or being, for me it's Thai, for you it's
Mhm.
massage, and then also adding the energy piece. I find that sometimes people come in and like if they're a longtime client, and this is back in the day, I kind of had an aha moment in a session, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to show up in this way anymore. Or if I'm
Mhm.
working with them for a long time and I know they have, let's say they just have a like a right hip thing. Sometimes I would go in anticipating that that right hip thing would kind of be the same from one session to the next. And I learned very quickly it was like, oh no, their body is different every single day. So who am I to assume that it's that hip that is where it needs the most? And they get in their head too about like, well, my right hip is the thing that hurts. I want you to work that. But then if
Mhm.
we're not listening to spirit, and if we're not listening to energy, and if we're not listening to what their body is telling us, not what their logical mind is telling us, we can miss the fact that it's not the right hip that needs to be worked. It's actually the lower back because it's coming from the lumbar spine. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or something like that. And it's just like,
Yep.
it's such a fascinating thing when you can drop in and really be present and just honor where they are in any given moment and understand that what their words are telling you something. And yes, absolutely, we'll go there and check it out. And also, I would like your permission to go where your body tells me it needs, and let's just see what happens. And when I very first started in working with people in the Thai massage way, I really had to lean into understanding that I had to ask them for their trust because well, first of all, Thai massage is different anyway, and a lot of people don't know what it is. And so there was
Yeah.
that extra layer of, the unknown, and then also asking them to lean into, let's see where we go today. And I just invite you to be open and curious.
Yeah. And Thai massage is beautiful. I mean, I've experienced it firsthand too. Like maybe not in the depth of you because you been to Thailand and stuff, but it is also a very artistic modality and very releasing in a lot of different ways, as you know. But I don't know, there's just no way except to be just full of joy when I say that I am so happy that I'm a massage therapist. Like, and touching on the hip situation, I found that a lot of clients come in saying, yeah, I want that hip worked on, but then it ends up being actually stored energy or like a
Mhm.
stored emotion, stored trauma, and they don't know it. And so I'll go in and I'll work around the area. So I'll do like the low back, I'll release the glutes and the deep six. I'll release the hammies and the pelvic girdle around it. And they'll literally walk out glowing. They're like, I
Yeah.
don't know what you did, but it's not there anymore. Like, and that alone is just, it brings me so much joy to see
Yeah.
them walk out exuberated.
It's such a beautiful thing. And I think often the tension that we have in our muscles are because we put our issues in our tissues. I mean, our emotional stuff
Mhm.
comes into our physical body and
I
it
love that.
and it just lives there. It kind of hangs out until we decide or get the blessing of a great massage therapist who can
Mhm.
move it. I think I didn't even understand that my tight muscles were all trapped trauma for me personally. And it was like, then I went to Thailand and studied, and I had a whole cry sesh in the middle of a room with a bunch of people I didn't know in a training. It was amazing,
Yeah.
mortifying on the human side, and absolutely divine on the spiritual side. And that taught me a lot too. But I think where we're going with this in our points, whether it's massage or a different modality or whatever it is, a friend that you're talking to, I think where we're going with this is to understand that healing isn't linear and that we might think we know what it's also not logical. And so we might
Absolutely.
think we know what we need, and we might even be willing to ask for what we think we need.
Hmm.
But the reality is Wow. If we have a trusted practitioner, it might take us somewhere completely unknown and maybe even a little scary. And that's where like communication and trust and boundaries are so important. And I just think it's such a cool thing to witness somebody like unfolding and uncovering something that they didn't know was part of their being. That then when we address it, look at it, release it, surrender to it, even acknowledge, accept, and love it, that it can actually change not just our moment on the table or in the room, but literally the whole rest of our life
Absolutely.
from one simple choice.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah. And that totally reminds me, you mentioned different modalities and trust and flow and stuff. And it took me back to when I was in massage school, we had a Lomi Lomi class, which I don't know if you're
Mm.
familiar with Lomi Lomi. It's a Hawaiian modality that basically practices the art of, like the waves almost. So it's almost like you are the wave and the body is, like it has to succumb to the wave. And it's a really, really beautiful modality. But I remember we were in one part of the class where we had to work on each other's stomachs. So she called our stomachs the bowl, right? So
Mm.
we had to, and I was a practice dummy, and about, I think, 7 or 8 other students were practice dummies with me. Um, and she called it, what we would do is we would go counterclockwise, and it would be, or no, we would go clockwise, and it would be called filling the bowl. And during this, people were like gaining trust. Like we didn't know these other students that were working on us, right? So we're very timid. We're like, okay, someone's touching my stomach. This is a very sensitive part of my body. Well, your stomach is your second brain, right? So the stranger is touching your stomach and you're like really untrustworthy and you're feeling weird. And then all of a sudden she's like, okay, empty the bowl. And we're like, whoa, wait, what? so she so she starts the scowl working on me starts going counterclockwise and emptying the bowl. Literally every one of us that were the practice dummy, we started weeping. Like I started bawling. The girl across from me was bawling. The guy on the table in the right hand corner, he was crying. Like everybody was weeping because so much is stored there. And it's the same throughout the entirety of our body. Like, I don't
Mhm.
know if you've ever read The Body Keeps the Score, but that book is like the holy grail of how well our body remembers, even if we don't, you
Yeah.
know? So I mean, it's such an art. Massage, body work, any sort of energetic work, everything that we do is, gosh, it's amazing where it can really lead.
Yeah. Well, and it just takes us to so many different places. And I think, I guess I don't know when the flip switch for me, probably when I took my Thai massage training, if I'm being honest. It's like I would get massages and just be like, oh my gosh, my body feels so much better. My muscles don't hurt anymore. And I never really thought about anything else. And,
Mm-hmm.
now I'll have a massage, or like, especially when I'm in Thailand, because I get a bunch of massages when I'm there, and find myself just going really inward and getting really quiet and just kind of like processing and integrating what just happened, like what we just moved, right? And it's such an interesting journey of understanding that it's all connected and that it can be as deep or not as we want. And that's not like a requirement to like this isn't me saying poo poo if you don't like go deep every time you get a massage or are doing healing work. I'm not saying that at all. I think sometimes we need the pause and the reprieve to just be and allow ourselves to just explore what that's like without the
Absolutely.
deep dive. But then sometimes, and this is where I'm going with this, is sometimes when you get a massage or energy work or something, like you get this surprise kind of like thing, whether it be tears or even giggles, or like I get so giggly by the end of my trip in Thailand. And it's just, I can't help it. I'm just like, energy is moving and it's bubbling up and I have to move it somehow. And I'd rather do
Yeah.
it through laughter than tears or anger, or wherever else you do go. And I just think sometimes that surprise can happen, like you go home after a massage and you're like, gosh, why do I feel so just like lethargic? And then 2 days later, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
And we don't
There's so
necessarily
much
have words to
energy.
put. Yeah, we don't necessarily
Yeah.
have words to put with the fact that, like, oh, that's just like another layer and level of healing and a benefit that can come from having someone who really has studied touch and healing and all those things in different ways that can then support you on your journey and actually get into the place where more can happen than you might realize. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I'm really grateful that I have awareness around that now because I feel like there was a whole lot of times that I was telling myself I was crabby for no reason. I'm
Hmm.
going to say it that
Hmm.
way after a massage, and then not realizing and understanding that I was actually like releasing something. And in the way I was relating to it, I was actually pulling it back in versus actually letting it go. And I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
such a beautiful part of this practice. And it sounds like, you know, your clients know and understand and realize because partially because you teach it, right? You let them know,
Mhm.
you inform them that this can be whatever it is that they need and they can like understand that they might have an emotional release because like when you described working the hip and the areas around it, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you're holding space for them to understand that it's okay to let those things come up and to just sit with them and allow them to move out if they so choose and just to be with it in that way that's safe. And, I think
Yeah.
sometimes we have this tendency to want to label everything.
Oh my gosh, yeah, especially in this day and age. Everything has a
Yeah,
label. Everything needs a label, which I think is hogwash. But um, I feel like a lot of things can just be chalked up to imbalance. Honestly,
sure.
like it doesn't even need a label. Like it's just an imbalance and it needs to be rebalanced. Like it's as simple as that. But yeah, coming back to so that totally just made me think of another story. So I energetically worked on this gal unknowingly. Like you said, a lot of people like they come in, they don't even know that they're going to have an emotional release, but they end up having a crazy emotional release. And then, but this gal, she came in and she's been my client ever since. So her and her husband came to me when I worked at the Adrift a while back. And then the next time it was just her that came in and I was like, oh, where's your husband? And she's like, she just started bawling. And I'm like, oh no, and it had turned out, unfortunately, that he had passed on. And so I worked on her and she was just wanting to, relax at the start. And then I started working on her, and I don't know what it is. I don't know about you, but like when you're an energetically healing person, you literally lay your hands on somebody, and it just like the energy is so warm and it flows through them that it just pushes everything up and out, almost like a tube of toothpaste. You know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there working on her, and all of a sudden she just starts like uncontrollably crying. And I didn't know what was going on because I was just massaging at that point. I didn't know that she really needed the energy work, but her body knew that she needed the energy work, So her body kept the score of that. And so now every time she's in town, she comes back to see me and we have these really great energetic sessions, and she's at a point now where she can cope, but like you said, a lot of the time, a lot of people don't know what they need when they come in. They just think that they're there for like a routine massage or checkup, and it sometimes ends in this really beautiful release
Yeah.
because our body holds on to all that. And it's crazy. It like the human body is just, it amazes me every day.
Oh my gosh, yes. How it's all like we're all so the same and then we're all so different all at the same time. Like I love I don't
Mhm.
know, I love the connection of that we can all be so similar but also so incredibly unique. Like there's no one else like us, no matter
Yeah.
who you are, right? Like you are your own unique being and also we're not that different. We're all connected and that's such a beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
Absolutely.
Um, I feel like I want to ask you a little bit about like your own healing journey because I suspect, and I might be making a huge assumption here, but I suspect because I find that people who are drawn to healing and who healing gets put in front of,
Hmm.
it's usually because they have their own journey and have done some of their own healing. Is that true for you?
Well, you're definitely not wrong. So, yes, I would have to agree with you. That is true.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
feel like that's why you're so deeply passionate about like how you show up within what you do because you've experienced some of it yourself, maybe in different ways, but just like you know the other side of that like those I don't know, those, I'm going to call them deep, deep wounds or pain points.
Absolutely. I made a post about this. I think sometime in the past couple of months, I said, without, like, I wouldn't know how to use my light if spirit hadn't, shown me the darker sides of
Mm,
what this world really is at a young age, because then I wouldn't know what to do with that light. Like, I wouldn't know how to shine my light throughout the dark if I didn't know how to navigate through the dark first. So I saw a lot of evil growing up. Um, I mean, very in-depth evils. I mean, bad people in churches, who claimed to be one thing but were actually completely opposite. That took my entire childhood, if we're being honest.
mm,
And I had to grow up really, really fast for these reasons. I basically raised myself. My mom was very emotionally distant. I never got like hugs or kisses growing up. But she didn't have the resources that we have now, and her and I are much better terms these days. And we actually have a flourishing relationship, and I love her to death. But I do know, the hell that she's gone through, and she did the best that she knew how to at the time. And I mean, I whammed through a few different stepdads growing up that were all super abusive and just really unhealthy for us. And so I was very secluded. I was an only child. My dad, my bio dad, he is a drug addict. Um, I actually witnessed a lot of addiction growing up. I witnessed my aunt overdose when I was 8 years old. That was really hard. It was another pivotal moment for me after all that turmoil in my younger years. And it led me to the woman that I am now. So once
mm.
upon a time, I would have been like, oh, woe is me. I can't believe that I went through this. But now I look at it, once you're healed, you look at it from a different spectrum. You're like, oh, I went through that so I can shine my light brighter. Like it hurt then, but now that the band-aid's off, like, and the wound is healed, it feels almost enlightening in a way because it led me to this really beautiful position in life that I get to be active in now.
That's
You know?
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I think, I think too, I think, what you just described allows you to hold space for yourself and others
Hmm.
in a different kind of way. Because I think sometimes, I don't know. I don't know how it is for you, but like for me, when I was doing my own deep, deep healing, sometimes I felt like I was met with like, I guess pity would be the word that would come in, And I think that's a natural human response when you
Right.
hear what might be considered a horrifying story, the
Right.
natural response is pity and like this heart sinking and this, oh. And I think when you're actively in your own healing, I've just found it to be true that most people don't want that. They don't want to be met with pity. They want to be met with courage and light and
Mhm.
strength and compassion and love and kindness and softness. But
Yeah.
it has to have some courage behind it. Otherwise, it feels, I don't know. I guess I won't speak for everyone, but for me, I think pity feels almost like I should feel guilt or shame with that.
Yeah. Well, there's also a lot of grieving in that territory, like
Sure.
once you do go through that healing aspect, you're like grieving this part of yourself or something that you might have missed in your timeline, because
Hmm.
you were so deeply in the fight or flight zone. So you
Yeah.
couldn't really take it all in, and so I feel like grieving comes in that territory that you're speaking of for sure, which
A
which can
hundred percent.
which can bring the pity. And
Yeah.
but again, like you said, the courage. People they need that courage in order to, whether they're being pushed into their own, healing journey, or whether they need a little bit of hand holding and for some extra courage, like share your
Yeah.
courage.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I just, yeah, I feel like everything you're describing and how you hold space for your clients and even like the insights that and the intuition that comes in when you're working with people. Like you said, your hands are, just like they're there dancing with the clay. And also, it's not like you're thinking everything step by step, like I have to do this, and then this is the next step, and then
Mm,
it's like spiritually guided. And I think that's such a beautiful way to hold space for people. And I think that comes through lived experience that you've decided to look at.
hmm Yeah, I think too, part of the territory is when people do come in, going back to like when they don't know what they really need, people will tell you what they need physically, but it's up to us as healers to listen to their spirit
Yeah.
rather than listen to their vessel.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the vessel isn't in tune with the spirit that's inside. And that's where people like us come in, where we step in and we say, okay, spirit, like what do you need today? Because then if we tend to the spirit, then the vessel will be fed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's such a beautiful thing. I love how we're describing just the various ways. I don't know. I mean, like I said, where I started in my massage journey, even just like getting massages, I just didn't think of them as anything other than just like, oh, my physical body hurts and I want that to stop.
yeah,
And
yeah, right.
then, this conversation I think just brings a new light to massage specifically, but really various ways that maybe healing can be surprising, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like the surprise of healing that can be like almost like a side effect of something that you thought was going to be one thing and then it turns into another. And I think
Yep,
it speaks to the call of like the human spirit, maybe is the way to say it, of really
absolutely.
wanting to be seen and heard and healed. And I'm a believer that like we're never healed. Like healing is infinite. It's not finite. It's not like, oh, I'm
Yep,
done now. That's
yep,
great. It's good. It's like, no, no.
yep.
Like we're
Never
always
linear.
no, there's always more to find and to look at and to see and to offer compassion and love and acceptance and all of those things. But I just think once you open that door, at least this was for me, like once people open that door, once we decide or even have it like that surprise of it moving something in a new and different way,
Mm-hmm.
once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then it takes you on this journey that I don't know, I guess it's a roller coaster for sure. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think it's such a beautiful thing to experience not only for yourself, but then like you said, circling it all the way back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an honor to be in a space where you can, it's not even for me, it's not even about holding space for people because it is that's an honor to be part of their healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's also always because I always receive healing too. It's an honor to be healing together, which might sound weird as the practitioner of the massage, for
Oh, I
example.
completely understand what you're saying.
But
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful thing because I think it reminds me, I think I spent a lot of time feeling unseen and unheard and unlovable. And that was my story. I'm not blaming anybody in my external world. I'm just saying like that's how I felt and how I showed up. And
Right.
to
Right.
have the realization that I get to be lovable and I get to heal and I get to
Mm-hmm.
be in community with other people because I felt so alone. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, but when there's a shift that happens when you kind of start doing the stuff that once you see it, you can't unsee it, that evolves the energy in a way where you're like, oh, I'm actually never alone. This is like
Yeah.
a spiritual journey with a collective who just
Yeah.
happen to be at your frequency, and it's such a cool thing. And
Yeah. It definitely is. It's definitely a roller coaster, as you proclaimed. It's up and it's down, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
yeah,
And I
same.
think I think most spiritual people who are awake in that frequency in that tune are they would say the same. Like now that I am awake and I see and I can hear people's deep emotions and what they really, really need to the core, like I don't want it any other way.
Yeah.
Because who wants to be blind to, you know, the beauty that is the depth of what the world really is and who people really are? Like who wants to be blind to that? Like you
Yeah.
can you can be blind if you choose to, but I don't want to be. Like
Right.
that's not what I was put here for. That's not what you were put here for. So I find it so beautiful that that we, like you said, we have this collective around us. We're never alone. Like we are always being guided by some source. We are always being led. Like there is no such thing as coincidence. We are always being led to certain energies and frequencies, to certain people. Like people are
Yeah.
put in front of us when we are ready to meet them. And that includes the being that we are actively becoming now. Right. So
Yeah.
like we can't meet ourselves on the next level until we're ready for that, and until we have healed that part of us. And it's the same when people get on our tables, like they can't meet that next level up until they're ready for it, like until they're awake to it, until they have their epiphany.
Yeah.
You know? And that is just another in-depth part of what makes this so beautiful.
I love that you said all of that. I love that you said there is no coincidence because I say
Mhm.
that to my clients and my friends all the time. They'll be like, "Oh, what a coincidence." I'm like, "Yeah, no,
No,
that's not how this works."
no, it's
I
not.
do not I have had way too many spiritually guided divine interventions, I'll say, where
Mhm.
I understand that it's never been a coincidence. It has always been divinely guided for the best and highest good. And I used to really love coincidences and call them that. And now I
Mhm.
really love coincidences, but I don't call them coincidences. I
Yeah.
call them blessings and miracles and divine,
Mhm.
divine guidance and connection and divine wisdom and all of those things. And I think I really believe that the reason you and I met was a divinely guided, divine wisdom meant to be put in each other's paths thing.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Because it was just such a beautiful, I mean, that day it was like we just sort of danced around in Reiki energy and kind of worked
Mhm.
with each other. And it was such a beautiful experience. And it was, sometimes distance Reiki can be like, well, we'll see, because you never know if the person's going to be open or if you're how you're
Mhm.
going to, if you're meant to work together. I don't know. I just think it's sometimes the distance stuff when you've never spoken before can be um, interesting. I'll say it that way. And, you and I just dove in and went deep, deep,
Yeah.
and
Like we
I'm
did a tango.
comfortable. Yeah, it was amazing. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't have an issue with distant sessions at all. I find them just as powerful as regular ones. Like
Hmm.
with clients, it's a totally different feeling, but sometimes when it's with another practitioner, and I think this is my own wounds, it can
Hmm.
get messy really quickly and feel like frequency wise out of balance. And I never know where it's going to go. And I'm always open to landing where we land. But I just remember that day feeling like, oh my God, we are like full blown
We
connected.
are one.
Yeah, it was
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing. It was just such an incredible experience. And I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm just really grateful for the fact that we've met. And this conversation today was fun for me to reflect on, you know, how we work with clients, how clients show up and land on our table, so to speak. That sounds like they're just jumping on and like hanging out, but
Yeah.
um, that's my language, how they land on my table, how they land on your table.
Hmm.
And then how that energetic engagement and also like healing on a mind, body, spirit level can be such a beautiful, albeit challenging thing. And sometimes I think I think the loudest sort of word that I'm hearing in the now is just that like don't it can be a surprise. And don't I don't know. I
Hmm.
think sometimes the tendency when we're surprised can be to like hide or fight or flight. And it's like, what if you consider that some surprises are really good? This is from a person whose surprises never felt good. They were always bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so to just, and I feel like sometimes the people where it is a really big surprise like that are in that same boat where surprises we don't have a positive association with surprises. And so it's like, what
Absolutely.
if it
But
could be a surprise in a great way?
I also think that when we are caught off guard with that surprise, though it can feel more like a blessing than
Oh,
anything.
100%.
Yeah, but I'm so happy that you and I are and our paths crossed also, because I do feel like it's like a sisterhood type of thing, and definitely spirit led. There's no coincidence, like we've said. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like this is a good place to wrap up. I feel like we've covered some really cool things with regard to being in service and also how to receive as a healer and as a participant, an active participant in your own healing.
Mhm.
If there was one like little gem that you could throw out into the world for people who are, looking for support and connection and healing, what would that be?
I think number one, I would say just ask. Like that's the first step. Like if you really want to be connected to your people and to a community that has begun their journey already, just ask first. Like literally just sit down, and one of my favorite things to do is I'll sit down, and when things are feeling really heavy and when I feel like I'm ready for a new door, I'm like, "Okay, thank you for showing me this problem is already solved."
Mm.
Or thank you for showing me the solution to the situation. I'll say either of those, and then usually within the next 3 days, I have an open door. I have a new face sitting in front of me. I have three new faces sitting in front of me. It depends on the situation, but that's the first thing. You just ask. It's already there for you. That door is already there. It's just your place to knock, you know. So, number one, ask, connect, and then take action. That's it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. I love that. I love that so much.
Hmm.
It feels like a wrap for today. How do you feel?
Feel good. I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks
How
for
you how
spending
you
this time
feel?
with me. I feel great. I always feel great when we have a conversation. Sometimes it's even just text and I'm just like energetically you feel good. You know?
Yeah.
And so and I know, I mean, I guess, I'm a person who hid for a really long time. Like I hid this part of me for a very long time. When I first opened it
Mm.
up, I was like, oh, nobody can know about this. And so
Mm.
it's refreshing when I meet somebody brand new. And then not only do they not like shut a door or feel threatened by the unknown of how I speak, but you use
Mhm.
my same language, the language that I would use that feels really comfortable and opening and inviting to me. And what I meant by what I said before is just that this language isn't comfortable for everybody, and that's
Yeah.
totally fine. Um,
Hmm.
my problem, the reason I hid was because it was met with judgment.
Hmm. And that stems from a very deep like childhood wound of like from when we were children, like children are seen or not and not heard, and like you need to make me comfortable as a parent as opposed to me make you comfortable as a child. And oh, this is annoying to me, but even though it might be your gift, I need you to stop doing that because it's inconvenient for me as your parent. So like a lot of us are pushed into this closet until it's
Yeah.
time until spirit's like, okay, it's time to push you out.
Yeah.
And so that can create that one because I was the same way. Like
Yeah.
I would get up on stage and I'd like start shaking and sweating and I was like, oh God. And it's scary. It's scary to
Yeah.
step into who you really are. So
Yeah.
bravo to you because this is great work that you do and I am so honored to be here today.
I feel the exact same about you. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I tiptoed into actually revealing me, but
Mhm.
it took me a hot second to find me. I didn't have clarity on what that was for a long time. I
Yeah.
was busy stepping out of boxes and
Yeah.
closets and things. Yeah.
Well, now
Oh,
you're
what
out of
great
the
time
box.
together. Yep, here I
Yeah.
am. And I'm not going back in. I'm not hiding anymore. And it's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, be you. That would be my thing. Just, explore who that is. If you don't know, you don't know until you just play, explore. I think,
Absolutely.
gosh, my
Just,
biggest thing was just like, what do I even want in this moment? And that was a hard
yeah.
question for me because I didn't know because I just did what I thought everybody else wanted. And
Yeah. My mentor said, one of my mentors told me like 3 years ago, he was like, follow the glimmers,
yeah,
follow the feel good, follow the what feeds you, follow the full cup feel.
yeah,
And eventually that led to, oh, I get to work on 5 people today and I get to change at least one of their lives today. And that's so cool. And
yeah,
then, and then that led to, wow, I get to be a mom today. Wow, I get to wake up today. Wow, I get to drink coffee today. I get to have a cup of tea with a friend on a yoga mat. I get to do all this great. great stuff today. The sun's shining and it starts there. You just find the little thing that feels good and then eventually the snowball's just gonna
Yep.
start
It
rolling
builds
down.
momentum for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it builds that momentum and then soon enough you're fully awake and you're like, "Wow, this cup is beautiful and I wonder how long it made them to like make this table. Gosh, they're so talented. What a beautiful thing. I wonder how much sediment is in this table or like how crafty they have to be or like you just think about all these little things that have so much beauty in them, whether it's big or little. And
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just yeah, sorry, ranting.
There's no, that's okay. There's so many layers in the in the smallest things. It's like there's a song. I can't remember what the name of the song is, but it's the one of the lines is there's big magic in the mundane or something like that, or
Yeah,
you know, everything is beautiful if you take time to notice or something like that. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like there can be big magic and then mundane. It just depends on your point of view and your perspective and how deep are
yeah,
you willing to look?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Beautiful. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy. This has been such a great conversation and sharing like-mindedness. Yeah.
Next up, we're meeting in person, girl. I'm telling you.
Yes, please. We owe it
That's
to
next.
ourselves.
We
Yes.
do. We do. All right. I think that's a wrap for today. Bye. Be
All
you every
right.
day. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.